Hello students, welcome to AriserTalent. As you know, we are studying very important chapter of that is life process. In this life process, we are talking about the transportation. In my previous lecture, I told you the transportation of humans, transportation in humans, we are talking about that. So in the previous lecture, we have already talked about the blood vascular system, in which I told you that it has the different parts. It consists of blood, blood vessels and heart. In our previous lecture, we have already discussed about the blood and blood vessels. Now we are going to talk about that importance of blood and the blood clotting. Okay, so here first of all we will talk about the importance of blood. As I told you in my previous lecture, I told you about the blood that it consists of plasma and blood corpuscles. Okay, importance of blood. So generally, let's recall first about the blood. What is blood? Blood is red in color, okay, and this is a fluid which helps in the circulation. Okay, generally the circulatory system is totally depend on the fluid which is known as blood. Okay, so in my previous lecture already I told you about the components of the blood, plasma and blood corpuscles. Now we are going to talk about the importance of blood. Blood is red in color just because of the presence of red pigment, that is hemoglobin. Okay, it is rich in iron. So here we will talk about the blood. Circulation of blood helps in the transport of different materials from the one part of the body to the another part of the body. We have already discussed this point in the lecture, in our previous lecture, when I told you how the blood helps in the circulation. Okay, so here first of all we have to mention first importance of the blood is that circulation of blood helps in the transportation of soluble food materials from small intestine to the various parts of the body. Okay, we can mention circulation of blood helps in transport of various soluble food from small intestine to the various parts of the body. Okay, this is the first function that blood helps in the transportation. Okay, so what kind of transportation it do? Generally, it helps in the transportation of soluble food material which are absorbed by the small intestine. Then this blood carry those soluble materials from the small intestine and then it pass it to various parts of the body, because we know blood circulates in complete body through the blood vessels. Okay, so here next point we can say, as we all know blood circulates in the complete body or in whole body, so we can say that blood maintains the temperature of the body. So thus we can say that blood helps in the regulation of the temperature in the body, because when it goes to the different parts, especially which are deeply seated body organs. Okay, so here we can say blood helps in the regulation of body temperature. Okay, so this is another benefit or another importance of the blood, circulation of blood. As well as blood also performs so many functions. What are they? They are as follows. Blood carries the hormones, okay, and then it transfers those hormones to the particular organ or to the organ of to the site of organ. Okay, so we can say blood carries hormones from the endocrine gland blood carries hormones from the endocrine glands and deliver to different organs Okay, fine. Beside it, blood transport the oxygen as well. How it do the same process? We all know that blood carries the oxygen from the lungs. Okay, and as I already told you that blood has a red pigment which is known as hemoglobin. So the oxygen combines with the hemoglobin and forms oxyhemoglobin, and when this blood reaches to the tissues, then it supplies oxygen to them. Fine. So here we can mention blood carries oxygen from the lungs This oxygen combines with hemoglobin and form oxyhemoglobin with hemoglobin and forms oxyhemoglobin. Okay, when the blood reaches to the tissues, when the blood reaches to the tissues, oxygen is used or absorbed by those tissues to release the energy in the form of ATP. Okay, to the tissues, oxygen present in the blood diffuses in the tissues to release the energy in the form of ATP. To release the energy in the form of ATP. ATP means adenosine triphosphate, okay, which provides energy for the different activities. Fine. So here these are the functions of blood. As I told you that blood carries oxygen from the lungs, and it passes this oxygen to the tissues. At the same time, during this process, carbon dioxide is released into the blood. Then this blood carries the carbon dioxide from the tissues to the lungs to breathe out. Okay, so another function is that blood carries, next is blood carries carbon dioxide from the tissues. Blood carries carbon dioxide from the tissues to the lungs to breathe out. Okay. As we all know that blood has some pigments which help in clotting of the blood. So here we can say blood helps in the clotting as well. Okay. So next point will be blood helps in the clotting. Blood helps in the clotting. Okay, so this process I'll explain you in detail. Before that, we have to discuss all the important points about the blood. Okay, as I told you, blood transport the important or soluble food material from the small intestine to the various parts of the body. Beside it, blood also carries the waste material like urea and deliver it to the excretory organ. Okay, so we can say blood carries waste material such as urea to the excretory organ. Okay, so these are the important features of the blood. As I already told you, circulation of blood helps to transport the materials from one part of the body to the another, which we have already studied. Now what are the special functions which are performed by the blood? So these are the special functions. What are they? Number one, it carries the oxygen from lungs to the different tissues and brings carbon dioxide back from those tissues to the lungs to breathe them out. As well as blood helps to maintain the body temperature. It helps in the regulation of body temperature. Blood helps in the clotting. Blood helps to transport the waste material such as urea to the excretory organ. Okay, so these are the blood also carries the hormones from the endocrine glands, and then it deliver to them to the different organs or the site of organs. Okay, so these are the importance of blood. Now we are going to talk about the blood clotting. Okay, so now we are going to talk about the second part of this, that is blood clotting. So what do you think, why the blood clotting is essential? Generally we get injured, that time blood flows out of our body because blood vessels get damaged. So at that time, if we do not check it, then it can cause excessive blood loss and sometimes it may lead to the death also. So to prevent all those things, our body has its own preventing mechanism which is known as blood clotting. So here we are going to talk about the next topic, that is blood clotting. Next our topic is blood clotting. Okay, so how this blood clotting takes place in our body. When we studied the blood vascular system, I told you about the bloods. At that time, I told you that the plasma and blood corpuscles are the important parts of this blood. At that time, I told you that blood corpuscles consist of RBCs, WBCs and platelets. So here, platelets perform this function of blood clotting. Thus, we can say that platelets has an important role in our body because it helps in the process of blood clotting, which is very complex process. Okay, so here let me mention blood clotting. Blood clotting is a complex process. Which is performed by platelets. Okay, this function of blood clotting is performed by the platelets. Now we are going to talk about the process of blood clotting. Now what happens when we get injured? So in the region of injury, these platelets are ruptured. Okay, so these platelets release a substance which is known as thromboplastin. Okay, let me mention, when we get injured, then in the region of injury, platelets get ruptured, and release a substance, and release a substance known as thromboplastin. Release thromboplastin. Okay. So this thromboplastin converts the protein into the thrombin. Okay. So here let me mention this thromboplastin converts the protein prothromboplastin into the prothrombin into the thrombin. Just a minute. Prothrombin into the thrombin. So this thromboplastin converts the protein prothrombin into the thrombin. Okay. It converts. Fine. So we need vitamin K for the conversion of protein prothrombin into the thrombin. Vitamin K, here we can mention vitamin K. K is essential for the conversion of prothrombin into the thrombin. Okay. Now this thrombin converts into the soluble fibrinogen into the fibrin. Let me mention this thrombin converts soluble fibrinogen into the fibrin. Next is thrombin converts the soluble fibrinogen into the fibrin, which is insoluble in nature. Okay. And then this fibrin undergoes many changes, and we can say it undergoes in the rapid polymerization and forms fiber. Later, it goes in rapid polymerization and forms long fibers. Okay, now these fibers form the network on the injured region, and then they trap the blood corpuscles and form the clot there. Okay, these fibers form a network over the injured region and entrap blood corpuscles. And form clot there and form blood clot. Okay, so this is the whole process of blood clotting when we get injured. Then at the region of injury, platelets get ruptured because blood vessels get ruptured, and platelets get ruptured, tissues get ruptured. So platelets get ruptured there. So these platelets at the same time, they release a substance which is known as what? It is known as thromboplastin. Okay, then this thromboplastin converts the protein prothrombin into the thrombin. Okay, then this thrombin converts the fibrinogen into the fibrin, which is insoluble in nature, and then they form the fibers, and these fibers form a network over the injured place, and then they form the clot. So here we are going to talk about the blood clotting linear diagram. Let me explain you that how the blood clotting takes place in our body. So here when we get injured, at the place of injury, okay, at the place of injury, what happens? Platelets release what? They release thromboplastin. Okay, they release thromboplastin. Okay, it is released by platelets. Okay, so this thromboplastin again converts protein. It converts protein. Which protein? Prothrombin. It converts prothrombin. It converts prothrombin into the thrombin. And for this process, we need vitamin K. So we can say vitamin K is essential for the conversion of prothrombin into the thrombin. Now this thrombin again converts into the what? Fibrinogen. This fibrinogen is soluble in nature. So this thrombin converts this fibrinogen, which is soluble in nature. Okay, it converts fibrinogen into the fibrin, which is insoluble in nature. Okay, then these fibrin by the process of polymerization, they forms the fibers, and these fiber form a network on the injured region, and then it causes blood clotting. Okay, so this is the complete process of blood clotting. Hope in this lecture you got or you understood about the importance of blood and the process of blood clotting.